I'm joined by Thomas Cannon, a Ruby developer, operations and systems nerd, the CTO of Punchpass by day, and founder of Practical Computer by night. He'll be delivering his talk, 5 Ways to Invest in Yourself for the Long Haul, at Blue Ridge Ruby this spring. Thomas, thanks for chatting with me.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and I'm super excited to be giving this talk.
I'm excited for it, yeah. We're all looking forward to it. You mentioned in your talk abstract that there are these critical moments when developers are often scrambling, when you need to level up, change jobs, or share your work. And I've noticed in myself and others that it often manifests itself as something like, oh, I wish I hadn't stopped going to meetups and conferences, or, oh, I really need to update my website and LinkedIn. I guess I need to write some more blog posts, or I don't have any code samples to share because everything I've written is in proprietary code bases. I've either said or heard these things, repeatedly from other developers. What would you say is the common underlying issue in these kind of moments?
So I've been there before. That's one of the reasons I'm giving this talk. And the things that I find, or at least in my career, is that it is a couple of underlying issues. It's not thinking about your career in the long term. It is a level of inertia caused by perfectionism and ego. That's one I used to really, really struggle with. And it's not everything needs to be the best thing that you've ever done. And a thing I've learned over the past couple of years actually is that you get multiple chances to revise your work. And then the big important thing that I bonk people over the head with because we forget it is that the web is a living document. It is beautiful. You get to change something. You put out a bad blog post that's like, this is the nugget of my idea, then I can go back and revise it later. That's it.
Totally. That makes sense.
And then I forgot also, it's a little bit of a labor issue, particularly forcing a balance between, in your working hours, between immediate execution and forward planning. In a way, as a systems nerd, it's a version of, if you don't schedule system maintenance, the system will schedule it for you, and it won't be convenient.
It will not be an opportune time. Yeah. That's a good way. That's a really good way to put it. Yeah. Because we end up with these crisis moments for ourselves where we suddenly need all of that evidence, whether it's going up for promotion or, oh shoot, I lost my job, I need to find a new one, or and even for myself as a consultant, I'm always a little bit in sales and marketing mode, thinking about where that next client is going to be coming from. So that makes total sense. Speaking of which, as a freelancer consultant, a third of my brain basically is always thinking about sales and marketing. So I get this on a fundamental level. What would you say to the person who would tell you, yeah, well, I work full time for a company. My company's great. I've been in my job a long time and I'm not going anywhere. I have a great manager who really supports me. I invest in them. They invest in me. Why do I need to invest in myself?
So, I'm also in that similar boat as well. It's really nice. I'm extremely grateful for it. And I would say that in some ways it's even more important to work and experiment in public in those cases, because what you have right now is something that's really special. You have this really excellent working relationship. And part of that, like any relationship, is growing your internal investment, growing independently as a person. It is not just like, oh, I have a really, really good job, so I get to defer all of this other work that I am doing. You have a really good working relationship because of the things that you have done before, and you maintain a really, really good working relationship by the things that you continue to do. And these public experiments, doing your own experiments, sharing them publicly, making this kind of clear defined divide between, hey, here's the stuff I do at my day job and this is the stuff that I do on the side, is a way of for you to invest and experiment, but in a way that you have autonomy. And that's actually really great for both parties, in my opinion, because first and foremost, I do firmly believe that no company or job should have complete control over your ideas and thoughts. I mean, we're even starting to see this now where if you grew up in like the, up until the 2010s, like 2018, 2019, like people who worked at Apple would just disappear. They would be completely
Yeah.
scrubbed from the internet. Even within Apple, that culture is changing. Like, people are starting to talk more publicly. So like the $1 trillion institution is now starting to recognize this. But talking about it in the more pragmatic aspects, one of the things that I find really, really important, and I've actually have lived in experience with this, is that the bad bets that you make, that like, oh, I think this is a good idea, and it turns out being a really, really bad idea. If you're doing those in like your internal like experiments publicly, those are firewalled from how your team and how your company pays their bills. I mean, how many times have you had to untangle the early alpha experiments from a senior developer in a production code base when that should have been baked like that should have been baked in the labs before it ended up on main.
Totally.
And also your company, your working relationships will get the downstream effects of your winning experiments. And you'll have buy-in, you'll have this clear proof of, hey, this works because I have done it. And we can talk about like a real concrete implementation, and you're not going in with something like an abstract, like, I think that this is going to work and I can kind of see the shape. You're like, oh, here's the shape. Here is a version of the shape. And also, you working in public is not only marketing for yourself, but it's also for your company. There's that gravitational effect of qualified, competent, engaged people working together as a team.
Yeah.
And so
They attract each other.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of like you saw it in the early days of ILM, where like it's a little bit of, hey, we work to like, these friends work together and they build up a whole film production special effects studio. But it was also like, hey, I want to go work at ILM because ILM is doing interesting things, and they talk about the interesting things that they are doing. And people like do work within ILM, but they are also they are their own entities.
Yeah.
As well.
That's cool.
Yeah, I would also say that there's precedent for all of this. That working in public is an act of necessary freedom and experimentation that should be encouraged. We all benefit from the results of that, from open source. And I mean, if you want to go back to kind of the roots, Unix was a joint effort between MIT, GE, and Bell Labs. It was a bit of a public-private partnership. We don't have public university investments in the same way that we do. See also the first 20 pages of Jurassic Park. But like at the individual level, that principle still applies. And I think the other thing, and this is it's uncomfortable, but I try not to avoid uncomfortable topics in my talks, is that everything is ephemeral. Like, you have a really, really good job right now, and like things can change in a heartbeat. And that doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, hey, you're going to get laid off. It could mean like, hey, the founders decide that they want to retire. You might have to move because of your partner's job. Like, you might have to leave this early stage startup because you find out that you have a kid. Like, life happens.
Yeah. It's not simply that. Yeah. Sometimes people paint it like, oh, well, I trust this. I trust them. I trust this person. I trust the company. I trust my managers. And bad things can happen even with really trustworthy, good people. It has nothing to do with them, with their decisions. And for all those other reasons, you might still need to change jobs or need to find something else. Yeah, that makes sense. So in a different scenario, like conversely, what would you say to the person that says, well, my company's or job right now is just in total crisis. I don't have time to invest in myself right now. I'm spending all of my mental energy trying to help my company stay afloat, or to really show my value, prove my value within the company so I don't lose my job. So I don't have time to do this investment stuff. There's no time or energy left over for that. What would you say to that person?
Well, the first thing that I would say, person to person, is that I'm sorry. It's an awful position to be in, and like I've been there before at various stages in my career, and it sucks, and I'm sorry. And I want to emphasize that the goal of this talk is not to shame people in this position, or even play in the space of we all have the same 24 hours in a day. Like, that's sucks. No, it's awful. No. In fact, I'm going to explicitly talk about the multi-year droughts in my life where all I could do was my day job. I'm not just like, this isn't just going to be some sort of caveat and couch. Like, I have lived that life where I couldn't do things for half a decade outside of my day job. And so that was the thing that I really, when I was building out this talk's going to focus on these small, immediate things that you can do as part of your daily work. It isn't to dramatically overhaul your entire workflow like a New Year's resolution, because New Year's resolutions barely stick. It's more about like finding these places, these little enhancements that you can slide in. Basically things that you're kind of already doing, but just taking it like, basically doing 5 minutes now so you have 5 hours later.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes it feel really doable, hopefully, no matter where you are. And certainly some situations people really are in a crisis, but hopefully this gives them at least a place to begin that doesn't feel overwhelming. That's cool. I got to see your last talk, Empty Pipeline, Empty Future, last year at XO-Ruby. And it's about the importance of hiring and training juniors in our industry. And it feels like maybe these two talks are related, both in terms of their view toward the future and our own need for investment. Do you see them as being connected, and what's drawn you to these kind of topics?
I mean, I hadn't really thought about it, meaning that like these were two things that had been bouncing around in my head. So I guess they are connected. And if you really like, if I had to think about like some of the connecting through lines between everything, I would say that this talk is kind of a sequel to Empty Pipeline.
That's how I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, if Empty Pipeline is Born to Run, then this talk is Tunnel of Love. It's in a way, it's like it's
you got
about
that Bruce
what happens.
Springsteen reference in there.
I did. I'm contractually obligated. It's about what happens after you get your foot in the door. It's about like what happens after the like big celebratory win, and it's about like this talk is about, okay, I have this job, I like it, and my career's a little bit established, but what's next? Like, how do I keep this momentum going?
Right. Because getting a job is not an end goal. There's a larger arc at work in the arc of your entire career. And this is really, like, the tie-in is really about the investment toward that first step of getting in the door of a company. But then this is really about then, like, that long haul, the view toward the potentially the end of your career and what it looks like through that whole story.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of both talks are about labor, which is a topic that I care deeply about. But specifically, they're about how labor and craft intersect, and basically, in my mind, it's about how you execute your craft informs your labor, and the things that you do in your daily work influence your craft. And being like really thinking about that push and pull and what's expected from you as from like a labor perspective is really crucial for your health, for your well-being, for the kinds of jobs that you take, for the things that you consider acceptable versus not acceptable, for like how you frame the things that you do in your work. When I've been talking with people about this particular talk and getting research, people have talked about like, oh, hey, this year it feels like I've had questions of like, is my career over? And if you have when you think about your craft versus the execution of your craft, that helps reframe, and that gets you thinking about, okay, what are the things that I actually care about? What are the things that I want to do with my career going forward? Because we have, and this is the beautiful thing about like working with teams and working with people, is that we all have these different things that we focus on. We all have these like little problems that we like to chip away at in our own little perspectives. And a lot of that ends up being informed by like the work that we do, but then also there's the level of, okay, if a problem interests you, then take your efforts as a craftsperson and go further, see what you
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah.
And I one of the things that I talked about in Empty Pipeline is how training juniors not only makes better teams but also makes you a better craftsperson, because you're having to explain your ideas, your rationale, thinking, like your thought process behind problems. You get challenged by questions, you get challenged by different approaches.
Yeah.
And investing in yourself does the same, and doing it in public is kind of like training a junior at scale and distributed. You're exercising those same muscles. Oftentimes when I'm writing or I'm thinking about these things, I'm thinking about them from the perspective of, okay, well, how would I explain it to somebody I'm mentoring, or how would I explain it to Jeremy the next time that we grab coffee? Like,
Yeah. It adds an extra level of rigor to whatever you're developing or producing that you wouldn't get normally just from a, hey, I'm just like push this new PR up. You know, because
exactly.
you're having to do all that explanation, all the thinking, and getting really tedious in the details about whatever it is. Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. I'm gonna leave us there. Thanks so much. This talk is gonna be great. Really excited for it. Thomas, I'm excited to see you April 30th at Blue Ridge.
Yes.
I think you are actually the closest speaker to Asheville this year, so we'll have a nice short ride up to Asheville, like an hour away. So really looking forward to it, and excited to see your talk. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I'm excited to see Asheville like right at the beginning of May. It's going to be beautiful.
It's gonna be great. Yeah, really appreciate it. Cool. See you then.
See ya.